Hello everyone and welcome to today's session, Guide to Penetration Testing, Introduction to Pen Testing and its Importance. This is the first session of our Certified Ethical Hacker CEH series with Rodney Gullatte. I am Renal Vicaria and I'll be your host for the day. Before we get started, we would like to go over a few house rules. For our attendees, the session will be in listen-only mode and will last for an hour, out of which the last 15 minutes will be dedicated to Q&A. Now about our speaker, Rodney Gullatte. Rodney is a community leader, US Air Force veteran, certified ethical hacker, certified chief information security officer, certified network defense architect, and has another 13 certifications. He is the CEO of Firma IT Solutions, which provides penetration testing for private companies that currently have internal IT cyber support or are outsourcing their IT cyber services with a background in information technology and cybersecurity that includes the Department of Defense, retail, healthcare, casinos, utility companies, and more. Rodney has developed Firma IT Solutions to bring this enterprise pen testing services to businesses in the Pikes Peak region and across the world. Colorado Springs is his fifth community as a military family. In the short span of 9 years, Rodney established himself in Colorado Springs as a transformational business and community leader. His latest accomplishments are becoming the first Black president of the Rotary Club of Colorado Springs 2020-2021. Winner of Colorado Springs Business Journal Best in Business 2017 and 2023, Hashwin Cybersecurity Company recipient of the Colorado Springs Business Journal Rising Star Class of 2018 award, winner of the 2020 Mayor's Young Leaders Award in Technology and Sustainability, winner of the 2020 Front Range Power Connectors Networker of the Year, founder of the Colorado Springs Black Business Network and the winner of Small Business Week 2019 Veteran Business Owner of the Year. Rodney is the immediate past president and CEO of the Colorado Springs Black Chamber of Commerce. He serves on the board of directors for the Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC, the Cultural Office of the Pikes Peak region, and the National Cybersecurity Center. He is an alumni of an inaugural Colorado Springs Mayor's Civic Leaders Fellowship, Colorado Governors Fellowship Class of 2022, and Colorado Springs Leadership Institute Class of 2019. He is most currently an honorary commander of the US Air Force Academy. He is one of the 50 people globally to be honored as a 2023 EC Council Chief Information Security Hall of Fame Award winner. So without any further delay, I would now hand over the session to you, Rodney.
Awesome. Thank you. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for being on the call. Yes, my name is Rodney Gullatte, and I'm honored to be here. First of all, I just want to share some gratitude. Thank you, Fritika, for your patience and for working with me and for giving me the opportunity to present to everyone. Thank you, Rena. It was a great introduction and welcoming of everyone. I also want to give a shout out to Mayank Tandon for his award, Star Performer of the Year. Me and him go way back when I first started getting involved with EC Council with the public speaking and stuff. So congratulations, my brother. And thank you for everybody for being on the call. And thank you for everybody that allowed me to pen test your companies. I know it's uncomfortable, but we're going to talk about some of this stuff today. So let's get into it. Yeah, so you know me. I've got 16 certifications and I want to get some more. You can never have enough certs. So get all the certs that EC Council has, just get them all. It won't hurt. It'll just make you smarter and a better advocate for helping people through these cyber attack issues that just keep coming and coming and coming. Honored to be in this Hall of Fame for 2023. That was awesome. I am the CEO of Firma IT Solutions and we do pen testing for companies. There's a reason why I said that you have to have your own IT before we do a pen test. So if you're a business and you're, the CEO and you're doing all your own IT, I can tell you right now, you're probably exposed. You don't need to pay me to do a pen test because you're already exposed. You haven't made the bare minimum investment of hiring somebody to take care of things that you don't know how to do yet. So once you get to that point, Then we can do a pen test to check to see how well that's working for you. Excuse me, if you have your office manager doing your IT for you, I don't need to pen test you because you're not ready. So this is only for companies who are mature enough to have their own IT, their own cyber, either internally or outsourcing. That's who should get pen tests. I'm proud to serve on these board of directors for the Chamber and EDC, the Cultural Office of the Pikes Peak Region and National Cybersecurity Center. One thing that I'm really proud of is being a husband. Been married 20 years to my beautiful wife, and I've got 3 great kids, and I love this community, man, and that's why I do it all, you know, for family. So some takeaways we're gonna have today is what is penetration testing and the importance of regular penetration testing. This is not a one and done and we don't think about it again. Then we're gonna have story time. My side hustle is doing incident response around the country. I have a really good friend who owns a company that does this type of work. So they call me up on a Thursday and I fly out on a Friday and I go see what I can do to help a company that's been destroyed with ransomware or some other kind of cyber attack. So, you know, I've got some stories about those and things that I've found that you can do better. And that's the last part. We're going to talk about things you can do better because there's quite a few things outside of the pen test that you can do today, right now, to do better. So let's go ahead and get into this. So what is penetration testing? It's a simulated cyber attack on your business, okay? This is before the bad guys actually do it to you. They're not going to give you a report and tell you, actually, some of them will tell you what you've done wrong. I've seen those in some of the cyber attacks where they'll send you a little note saying, hey, you know what, here's 10 things we found in your network that helped us get in the first place. You might want to take care of those. You know, what's interesting is that a lot of these cyber attacks, these are businesses running these attacks against you. You know, from Lockbit to Black Suit to, you know, there's a lot of them out there, a lot of gangs, a lot of criminal organizations that are running these ransomware attacks, and they want their money and they want to take your money and take your data. So we want to make sure that you have everything at your disposal to keep that from happening. So this is a simulated cyber attack on your business. For my company, we run them internally and externally. So the external penetration tests will be pointed at your public IP addresses, your web addresses, any kind of in your DNS records for your website. You know, any of those IP addresses that are listed in there will point the penetration testing at all those to find all the vulnerabilities that are public facing. The internal pen test is run on your network. So this will show you what happens if you click that email that you shouldn't have clicked. If you get that email that says that your client owes you money or that you owe somebody else money with an invoice and you click it and it opens and you see a little flash screen come up and go away and you don't know what happened. So this shows how bad things could get if somebody got inside of your network. There's another piece out there for penetration testing, which is the physical. Some people want you to break into their actual physical buildings and see what you can get. I've seen this done. An example, there's a guy sitting outside of a company and he knows that everybody gets to work between 7:30 and 8. The door's opening and closing all the time. People aren't really badging in. There's people holding the door for each other as they come in. You know, people take smoke breaks every now and then. You know, from 11 to 12, people are going to lunch in and out of the building. People get off at 5. The cleaning crew comes in at 6, and they leave the doors wide open because they're dragging trash in and out of the building. So you watch this for about a week and see where your entry points can be. And then you decide to go buy some donuts because everybody likes the donut guy, right? So I walk in during start of business while everybody's coming in and out of the building, and I walk in with donuts. And I walk by the front desk and I'll be like, yeah, you know, I'm supposed to bring donuts over here. Oh yeah, mister, go ahead and take them to the back, to the break room. I'm like, okay, I don't know what a break room is because I've never been in this building, but I'm gonna take my donuts and I'm gonna walk into this building. So I've already got past the first barrier and I'm walking in with my donuts. And I see the break room. I see a guy in there getting coffee. He didn't ask me what my name is. I come and bring the donuts to them down. I was like, you want some donuts? Oh yeah, sure, no problem. Give them donuts. And then I walk back into a cubicle where nobody seems to be sitting. And I take a flash drive and plug it in. And I leave. Now I have access to that entire internal network, and I have completely bypassed all physical security in this building. So I would report on this, and that will be part of the physical pen test. Your red team and blue team and purple team. So red teaming is what my company does. That's what we do. So we just completely go in and we attack your company. The blue team would be the IT or cyber team for the company, trying to keep me out. And we're not communicating. So the red team and blue team is an opposing force, right? I'm a gamer. That's my dirty little secret. So if I'm playing Mortal Kombat with somebody online and I'm Scorpion and the other person is Sub-Zero and we're going head to head, that's the red team, blue team. Now the purple team is when we're working together as a team. I'm trying to hack in, I'm telling them what I'm trying to get. As I'm trying to get in, they're working with me to try to keep it out, and we're documenting everything as we go, and we're working this whole process together. So that's the purple team. It's a togetherness project. The black box, gray box, white box. So black box is if I don't know anything about the network before I start this penetration testing. I know nothing. I know the company, and I know they have computers, but I don't know the IP addressing scheme. I don't know any of the scopes. I know the website and don't know anything else about it. I have to go to the website and find out who the executives are and send phishing attacks to them. Gray box is when I know a little bit about the network. And the white box is when I know everything about the network. There's been situations where I've done penetration testing and the client does not want me to tell the IT provider that we're going to get a pen test because they don't want them to prepare for it and try to do things to make the pen test turn out different. They want to see what it looks like right now with the IT service provider unprepared. And that does give a very realistic look at how things are looking on the network. Now, with the penetration testing, it starts with a conversation because we don't do this without permission. We don't do this without a scope of work, statement of work, rules of engagement. So there has to be a signed agreement before there's going to be any hacking of this network. The payment happens, we run the penetration test, and at the end is what the penetration test is all about, is providing the reports. The reports are the important piece. So we have 4 reports. We have an executive summary, which is something that you give your board of directors. Your high level overview of everything that happened shows that your stuff was critical or not. We have different ranges of criticality. So it's critical, high, medium, low, and informational. The other report is a consolidated report, which is a mix of the executive summary and the technical report. The technical report is a geek report. Like that's the IT report. That one's going to show everything in geek speak, all the technical, everything. The consolidated report is typically the one that I use in my briefing. And then there's an activity log that shows the date and time stamp of everything that was done, everything that was touched, everything that was seen. And then there's an evidence file, a zip file, that has pictures of all the stuff that we were able to compromise and get into. So we turn all that stuff over to the IT team. And the part that I like most about penetration testing is the debrief at the end, where we get the stakeholders involved. We'll get the CEO, we'll get the IT team involved, we'll get the board of directors involved. I've done several of these briefings with clients when we're finished, and it's a jaw-dropping moment for them. And we're going to talk a little bit later about some of the nuances with that briefing and doing pen tests on people, because it makes people uncomfortable. But we'll talk about that in the slide in just a moment. So let's talk about the importance of the penetration testing. It's important for you to be proactive and not reactive. There are people out there, and I know I have a mix of folks on this webinar right now. I've got some of you who are CEHs already. Congratulations. And I'm going to talk to you about why that cert is so powerful, especially in this kind of work. I know we have people who are practitioners, people who are aspiring practitioners, and we have people who maybe not in the profession, but have heard pen testing out in the street and want to know a little bit more about it. So I'm hoping that that I'm able to talk to all of you in this presentation. And definitely when EC Council puts this thing in syndication and it goes onto their YouTube channel, please share it. Share it everywhere you can, because the more people we can get to know about pen testing and its importance, the more secure we can make this planet. All right, this is a global issue, the cyber attacks. This is in the trillions of dollars. It's affecting everybody. I'm sure you saw the largest bank in the world was in China, right? And they got hacked. So nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. We had a huge healthcare organization here that got hit. No two-factor authentication for a $300 billion company, United Healthcare. Nobody's safe. So it's a matter of when and not if. So if you are proactive and you get a pen test so you can see where your gaps are before the bad guys get a hold of you and make an example of you, that's what you need to do. Reactive doesn't work. And there's so many people that we find out, and that's something I want to tell all of you practitioners out there who are out there doing these pen tests and trying to communicate pen testing to people who need it. You're not going to be able to save everybody. You're not going to be able to save them. Some people are going to have to get hacked first before they listen to you, and that's a shame. So, put as much effort as you can up front talking to them, but if you keep getting told no, just move on to somebody else, because there's other people out there ready to get this done, and then there's the hard-headed people that are just going to have to get hacked first. So don't frustrate yourself trying to talk sense into people who don't want to listen. All right, and that's for my practitioners out there, because if you haven't run into this already, you will. It's very important to get this done by a third-party resource. So if you are a company with an IT department, they can run a pen test on themselves, but it'd be better to get a third-party objective outside source to do this for you. Think of it as an external audit. You need somebody not connected with the company to come in and do this unbiased. Your IT is biased, and while they may have the best intentions, I mean, for those of you that heard of Bernie Madoff, they asked this guy to self-certify that he was doing the right thing, and he was like, yes, I'm doing the right thing. And he was not doing the right thing. If they had somebody externally come in and audit this guy, they'd have found out all the dirt he was up to before it, messed up so many people's lives. So this is a third-party resource type of thing. So get somebody else to do this that is not your IT and cyber company that you're currently using for your business. Budget this for at least once a year. Best practice is at least once a year. So this is not something you're running like all the time. You have your endpoint protection, running scans all the time, right? You're running your backups all the time. You're doing cybersecurity training, frequently. You're doing your phishing tests on your employees frequently. You want to at least do a pen test once a year. That's your big test, right? It costs a little more to get a pen test than those other things I just mentioned. So put those in your budget and be ready for those. And I guarantee you one thing, a pen test is going to cost you less than ransom. Okay, so for all those companies out there that are like, oh, it's too much, or even if you haven't tried to see how much this costs, go get some quotes. Contact me. I do want to say thank you for everybody who has contacted me on LinkedIn. I appreciate that, because you've seen this webinar come up, and you've seen my last one for CISO. Thank you so much. It's been a real joy talking to you guys. So I want to be a resource, but there's a lot of other companies out there doing this. So talk to them, get quotes from them, and put them in your budget so you can get it done. You'll thank me later. And pen testing can stop escalating threats. I'm sure you all saw the global tech outage from CrowdStrike. Everybody's like, oh, CrowdStrike, 8.7 million computers around the world down because of a oops, right? At least that's what we think it is right now. I hope it's an oops. But what happened because of that oops, cyber criminals took advantage of that situation. So as you were watching the news unfold and you're hearing about companies that were affected by this, the names of those companies were being said out loud on the news, on global news, local news. They're talking about the companies that were hit. So cyber criminals are listening to these news reports and they're taking notes. It's like, okay, this company was affected by CrowdStrike. Okay, this company was affected by CrowdStrike. Okay. And what did they do? They called them on the phone. They called them on the phone. It's like, hey, you know, this is CrowdStrike support. We are so sorry that you're dealing with this issue. If you could just take your computer and go to this website, blah.com, and, you know, download this program. We'll make sure that you don't have this CrowdStrike issue. We'll go ahead and fix it for you for now and in the future. And they end up downloading a virus, and boom, ransomware destroys the organization. Or better yet, they send an email. The email is branded with CrowdStrike stuff. It looks like an official CrowdStrike email. And it says the same thing. We're sorry about this issue. It's a problem. And you may or may not have been affected with CrowdStrike. You don't know. They're sending this out to everybody. So if you're one of those regular users that just happens to have admin rights to your network, and you click that link in the tech support, the fake tech support email from CrowdStrike, I'm doing air quotes if you can't see me on the screen. Now you've infected your network, and now you've got ransomware. So, you know, cyber criminals, they're inventive. They're going to come up with things to get you. And that's why we as practitioners have to also be inventive to find ways to stop and thwart those attacks on our friends and families and businesses around the world. So story time. So we talked about CrowdStrike. That was crazy. Equifax here in the US is a credit bureau. Back in 2017, they had 117 million records. We have like 330 something million people in the United States. So, you know, that's a pretty big number. Equifax had a web system that got compromised. It wasn't up to date, wasn't ready. And a pen test would have found that. For all the people that may or may not have been affected by the CrowdStrike issue, if you were affected by CrowdStrike, excuse me, once you got your systems back online, I would definitely run a pen test on that network to make sure that you don't have any other vulnerabilities back there. We saw what happened with SolarWinds. If you don't remember that story, you can go look that up. Those hackers got into their update repository and sent out a malicious update, and then went back into the system at SolarWinds and took the virus out. So when they tried to go and look for it, they didn't see anything wrong. So it took them, I think, 6 months. It happened in the summer. They didn't find out till December something that hackers had been into their system and pushed out all these viruses to all their clients. So that's a scary one. Pen testing can find a lot of those things before they become an issue. So get those done. Some incident response stories. So I'm out here. I just got back from a trip with a company. They have a third-party IT team that takes care of their firewall and their network. And so I get there, they've got ransomware, their systems are all down, and they also have a local MSP that doesn't talk to the IT provider for the firewall and the network, right? So this MSP just does the computer stuff and the servers. So I asked the local MSP, I was like, hey, do you guys have eyes on your firewall? And they said no. So I asked the IT director for the company, do you have eyes on your firewall? He's like, no. It's like, well, we need to talk to this company that has eyes on your firewall. I want access to it now. And I don't want read-only access. I want admin access to this firewall. Let's go see it. So the company gives it up. I go look at the firewall. It's a FortiGate, right? So for all you FortiGate people, like, just put this in your head. So you know how you have the profiles, right? You have the antivirus, the intrusion prevention, like all the security services that are in this thing. I go in, the antivirus is turned off. It's not even on. I go to intrusion prevention, it's off. It's not even on. The web filtering, off. At the bottom, you have reports that the FortiGate can create. You know, a 360 cyber report, intrusion prevention reports. These are really good reports, especially if you have a forensic investigation going on. You want to grab these reports from the firewall and turn it over to the forensic team. All these reports were turned off. Wasn't reporting or logging anything. So I call the company that manages the firewall, and I'm like, hey, you know, this is either gross neglect or a hacker got into your firewall. Which one is it? So we I have him on the phone. I'm asking him, hey, did you make this so the antivirus is turned off? Did you put this in here so that, the intrusion prevention is off? One of the things about the web filtering, which is funny, funny but not funny, it's got categories like, violence, pornography, hacking, and they were all set to allow. It's crazy. So I asked him, like, is this what you guys did? And he's like, you know what? This was an oversight. That's the word he said, an oversight. I'm flown out to a company that has been compromised with ransomware. They are paying a lot of money to this company to manage their firewall, and they tell me it's an oversight that they had all this stuff turned off. He said, all I did was, I applied the defaults, and I thought the defaults would have everything turned on, and I guess it didn't. So I'm like, I'm quiet, but I'm there with the IT director, and I'm making faces. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So then he says, let me go look at your data center and see if that firewall is configured the same. Oh, it is. Let me go look at some of my other clients real quick and see if that's configured the same way. It is. Oh my gosh. I was like, wow. The reason I bring that story up is because a pen test would have found those issues beforehand, before the cyber attack happened. That's why we get pen tests done. Is your company running Windows Server 2003? That's end of life by Microsoft. Is it running Windows Server 2008? Windows Server 2012? Windows Server 2012 R2? All of those operating systems have been end of life by Microsoft. You have a big enterprise with tons of computers, and you've been in business for 30 years. Do you have Windows 7 and Windows 8 computers out there on the network? Do you have Windows XP computers out there on the network? Now, I understand that there's some companies out there that have to have these really old operating systems because their products just can't work on anything past that. I would highly recommend you try to find a way to get off of those old operating systems because they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable to attack. And if you don't know where they are, or you don't know if those systems are on your network at all, guess what will help you find those systems? Yes, a pen test. Pen test will help you find those things before they become a problem. So let's talk about some things that you can do better. Get a pen test and tell your friends and your colleagues to get a pen test. If you're out having a drink or having some steak or at a barbecue at the house, like, you talk about it. It's okay. You don't need a segue. Just be like, hey man, do you know what a pen test is? Nope. Okay, it's when there's a company that's going to launch a cyber attack on your business to help show you your gaps before the bad guys get a hold of it. Oh, that sounds like a good idea. Where can I get one of those? Well, I know a guy. Restrict admin rights to your Microsoft 365 account. So this last incident response issue, they got into their Office 365, Microsoft 365 account. You have a lot of users in this system, a lot of email accounts. They don't all need to be admins. Don't make them all admin level. Here's what you need to do. Create an admin account with no license, right? With Microsoft 365. Put a super strong password on it, put 2FA on it, and only use it when you need to make changes to your Microsoft 365 environment. There should not be an email account used by your CEO or your office manager that they use for regular everyday work, their email and their calendar and all that has admin rights. Because if somebody gets a hold of that account, they got access to your whole Microsoft 365 environment, and that's bad. So making an account that you don't use, that has no license, that has no ability to send emails or anything, please do that. If you're not doing that, do it today. That's your homework. Unless you're, in India and it's 7-something p.m. at night and, it's time to go to sleep. Do it first thing in the morning, okay? Get better backups. So there was a company I went to go see. Their backups were being stored on servers in the office. They were using Veeam, and all those backups were being stored on servers in the office. So when ransomware attached itself, guess what the first server was that they used as a jump point? The backup server. That's the one they got in first. So they encrypted all the Veeam backups, and then they jumped across the network and encrypted all the VMs. your backup should be somewhere else, not in the building. And there's a lot of different tools and programs you can use to have backups that are offsite in the cloud. You need to get them off your network. There's really no reason for all of this ransomware to be taking place, because if your backups were on point, you wouldn't be paying this ransom. Well, at least most of it. It will cut it way down. Check your ego. This one is for my fellow IT directors out there, and people who are responsible for IT for organizations. You know, this, and it also bleeds into get ready for the uncomfortable conversation. It's okay. Dude, we are not here. I'm not here to take your job. I'm not here to get you fired. Okay? This pen test is going to expose stuff. I'm going to find things on your network. I'm going to find them. And it's okay. The whole point of me finding these things is to help you better protect your client, not to get you fired. When I do my my briefings at the end of my pen tests, I'm very cognizant of this, and I'm very careful at letting the CEOs of these companies know, hey, you know, your IT is doing the best they can, and you know, they're on a defensive side of the wall. They're putting up defenses. You got your antivirus and intrusion prevention and all this, but they can't hack themselves. So that's why I'm here, to show these gaps. And now that they know better, they can do better. They can take these reports and get everything fixed. I've got people, IT directors that say, you know, we got it. I've got CrowdStrike. I know it's not a pen test, but you know, it shows me everything I think I need to know. You're right, it's not a pen test. You still need to get one of those. The CEO IT director relationship, for you CEOs out there, you can't just, I mean, I want you to trust your IT directors and your CTOs and your CIOs and your CISOs. But you need to trust but verify. And that is with the pen test. Okay. For you folks on organizations that have boards of directors, this isn't a situation where you ask the IT director if it's okay to get a pen test. You're the board of directors. You're going to tell them, we're going to get a pen test. We're putting this in the budget and you're going to get one. That's how that works. Because I've seen a lot of times where those pen tests will get denied. Let me give you another story. There's this huge healthcare organization out there, and they had a computer security software that was rogue, right? It's been deemed unsafe. Our U.S. government has banned this software, but they had it on all their computers. And I discovered it, and I told some of the executives, I'm like, hey, this should get off of your machines. It's dangerous. Here's the U.S. CERT report. Here's, you know, the FBI report showing that this is dangerous. You should get it off. So their IT director said it's fear mongering, and you know, it's a comprehensive software, and it should stay on there. So it took them 2 years to get it off their computers. 2 years. So the executive called me and was like, hey, we finally got it off our computers. I'm like, great. So I think you guys should get a pen test because you've had this rogue software on all your systems. Let me do a pen test on your whole enterprise and see if there's any other issues out there. I was told that the IT says we're good. It's like, your IT says you're good? Like, is this the same IT that had this rogue security software on all your machines? Yeah, pretty much. So, you know, that's just another one of those examples where you try to lead people to better solutions and they don't listen. They're going to have to get hacked. And it's a shame because it's a really big healthcare organization that a lot of people I care about are a part of. And they're going to be exposed. I'm not part of this healthcare system, but you know, it's going to be bad when they end up on the front page for a breach that they could have avoided. I mean, there's another story I have. There's a very big semiconductor. It's a global semiconductor firm. I can't tell you the names, but they're very big. You're probably able to Google them once I tell you some of the stories. So I got in touch with their executives. I got all the way up to like their global cyber lead, and I'm talking to them about pen testing. And they write me back and they told me, no, we're good. We're good. We don't need anything. We're fine. I'm like, all right, man, just really shut me down real fast. Didn't even want to have a conversation. Less than 30 days ago, this very large semiconductor firm gets hacked. I'm watching it on Bloomberg. And so I got the email from this global cyber person denying the pen test. So I took a picture of the screen on Bloomberg where their stock is going down. It says they had a cyber incident and they can't make chips and all that stuff. So I took a picture, I send it. I'm like, hey, I just want to follow up on this conversation. I know you guys are dealing with an incident right now. I'm really sorry to hear that, but I still want to be a resource. Let me know if you want to have this conversation about pen testing or if you need some other help. So, it's not a time for you to go, I told you so. Never be that person. Always be friendly about it because you have the solution as a pen tester. You have the solution they need. They need it. They don't know they need it. So I'm hoping that there's a lot of stuff that I've said in this talk today that gives you talking points and ways to break this down to people who need this service, because it's about communication. And if you can talk to them in a way that helps them understand that they need it, you may be successful in being able to conduct this penetration test on the company. So yeah, stop using outdated operating systems. I talked about that. Remove accounts called administrator. If you got servers out there and you have an account called administrator, it comes by default. Thank you, Microsoft, for all the defaults. But you need to change that to something else. Call it Thanos. I don't know. Call it anything else. Make it a random, like a keyboard smash, just a bunch of letters, and make that your administrator account, but never have it called administrator. Make sure you change that, because that's the first account that cyber criminals go after, the one that's called administrator. Even if it's disabled, if it's called administrator, they're gonna go after it. So just get rid of the account called administrator, name it something else, and that will help a lot. Better passwords, okay? Summer 2024 exclamation mark is a bad password, man. Don't use that. That one's been compromised already. You can check with the Apple. If you got an iPhone, how they check if passwords have been compromised. Like, that one's been compromised. Like, don't use those simple passwords. Uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and symbols, at least 14 characters. It's a good password. Mine are a lot longer than that. If you've got words separated by some type of symbol with numbers involved, just make it long, okay? Like, we are on the cusp of quantum technology coming out to be able to crack these things in like an instant. So while we're still enjoying the world of pre-quantum, I think there's some of it already coming out now. Make those passwords really, really strong, okay? It's important. It's important. It'll keep you safer. Something I want to talk about, and I talked about in the beginning of the webinar, is CEH version 13 AI. Man, I'm excited when I saw this. So with all the work that I've done, full disclosure, I haven't had a job in 13 years. I've been running my own company. And in the world that I operate in, with CEOs and boards of directors and all that stuff, and people who don't understand the technical aspects of my profession, when I walk into a room and I tell them my name is Rodney Gullatte, I'm a certified ethical hacker and CEO of Firma IT Solutions, their ears automatically pop up, because they've seen news about hackers. They know what that is. When I say I'm a certified ethical hacker, man, that captures their attention. That's what I need. Now, certified chief information security officer, that's great. I love that cert too. That gets me a lot of engagement from my peers. But when I walk into a room full of people that don't know anything about my profession, and I have a shirt that says CISO on it, they go, do you work for Cisco? It's like, no, I don't. And I have to explain it to them. I don't have to explain certified ethical hacker very much. It already gets their attention. So there's a lot of power in this certification. If you do not have it yet, get it. And if you don't know which one to get this one, right? You want to stay on the bleeding edge. Shoot, I might end up getting this one. And you heard about the preview for it in the beginning of the webinar, but this is amazing. You always want to stay on the bleeding edge, because our adversaries are always on the bleeding edge. So we have to stay on the bleeding edge in order to be able to fight them. We have to have all that same knowledge of how to destroy things and how to get into things that we have no business getting into. We have to have that knowledge in order to protect people from the criminals that are using that for financial gain. So keep your skills sharp, keep studying, my friends. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk to you today. I hope you understand what it means to get a pen test, why it's important, and we'll open it up for some Q&A.
Thank you so much, Rodney, for delivering such an insightful and informative session. We found the webinar very engaging and hope it was valuable for you as well.
Oh, I love this stuff. Absolutely.
So before we begin with the Q&A, I would like to inform all the attendees that this session is in sync with EC Council CEH program. EC Council Certified Ethical Hacker certification is mapped to a variety of roles in the cybersecurity industry, including ethical hacker, security analyst, security consultant, site administrator, and network management executive. LinkedIn 2022 lists over 1,000 jobs seeking ethical hacking skills worldwide. And if you're interested in learning more, please participate in the poll that's going to be conducted now. Let us know your preferred mode of training and we will reach out to you. So Rodney, should we proceed with question and answer?
Let's do it.
Okay, so our first question to you is how and from where I can learn penetration testing from scratch, like as a beginner?
So there's a certification from EC Council called CPENT. That's a pen test specific certification from EC Council. Look that up and study it. Study it good. You can also get yourself a copy of Kali Linux. It's free to download. Put it on a USB drive. Boot up one of your Windows laptops with the USB and start playing with it on your own network. Check out the tools. Check out the difference between a vulnerability scan and what a pen test does. YouTube is a great place to learn some things as well. Hack This Box is another good website to train on. Check out Jack the Ripper as a password cracking tool. Check out Metasploit. You'll see that in the Kali Linux distribution. Bloodhound and Leprechaun for information discovery and enumeration. Web application testing like NetSparker and Burp Proxy. Those are just some of the tools that are out there. But Kali is really nice. They just came out with a new release with some new tools on it. I haven't played with the new one to see what those new tools are, but the CPENT is a great certification for you to kind of look at and start to pursue if you want to learn how to do this from scratch. Hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Our next question to you is, what advice can you give to someone with certification like Masters, Certified Ethical Hacker, and Certified Cybersecurity Technician?
Can you repeat the question?
What advice can you give to someone with a certification like Certified Ethical Hacker and Certified Cybersecurity Technician?
Okay, the advice I'd give you is don't stop getting certifications. Keep getting more. And it doesn't matter how simple or how complex the certification is. I always make this example. I don't know if you guys have seen the Terminator films, Terminator 2 specifically, Arnold Schwarzenegger. But while he's patching up Sarah Connor in the garage, he tells her about how he's got detailed files on human anatomy. And then she makes a comment that makes you a more efficient killer, right? And he said, exactly. So, with all the knowledge that you can obtain in this profession, the two that you have and the many more that are out there, they'll make you into a more efficient, ethical hacker. Learn all of it. Learn the A+, the Net+, the Security+. Learn all the slew of certifications that EC Council has. There's networking certifications from other providers. There's stuff from Amazon Web Services. Like there's a lot of certifications out there. Learn them all. As far as a job, there's two trains of thoughts on jobs with all those certifications you get. You know, don't be afraid to make your own money. So there's always a chance for you to start your own business. While it's tricky, it can be done. I'm a testament to that. It can be done. As far as a job, look out over the whole planet. There's a lot of jobs coming out that are remote these days. Along with the in-person, you have to go to the office jobs. Look for those jobs and don't be afraid to apply for them. Even if you think that you're not qualified for the job, apply for it anyway, because you may be the qualified person that they're looking for. They may be looking for more than just certs. They might be looking to see if you can have a conversation with another human being, because that's tough in our profession. There's a lot of people in this profession that talk better with machines than with people. If you're good talking to people, if those soft skills are strong and you've got some certifications, the sky's the limit for you, man. So yeah, those two certifications are great. Leverage those, look for new opportunities, and don't be afraid to reach for things that may seem out of reach. Reach for it anyway, and you'll be surprised when you grab it. Hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Rodney. We have received a lot of questions.
Right on, and thank you for all of you that are linking me on LinkedIn. I see I'm got my laptop over here and there's all these new connections. So thank you. I like making new friends. Next question.
So our next question to you is, have you utilized AI for penetration testing? If so, what were the successes and challenges of using AI in comparison to traditional penetration testing?
So the way I've used AI has been a little different with my pen testing. So I'm trying to find the actual pen testing itself. I haven't used AI to do the actual work on the pen test yet, but I have used AI, and it's been very helpful at helping me find people to pen test, right? So I had a conversation with ChatGPT, and I just found out that I have a Mac, and they've got a program you can install on the Mac where you can talk to ChatGPT. So I picked this voice. It's pretty cool, and we just had a conversation. And a lot of the pen testing I'm doing now, the CEOs are people I personally know, and they've allowed me to pen test their companies. But I just became an approved vendor for the Kroger Corporation, which is like a grocery store chain, Home Depot, Target, Lowe's, Paramount Pictures, Walmart, Marriott International, and Dick's Sporting Goods, right? And Dick's Sporting Goods got hacked like 2 weeks ago, so that's unfortunate. But now that I'm an approved vendor, how do I get the contracts? How do I find them? So I asked ChatGPT, I was like, dude, I'm an approved vendor for all these companies. Like, what's next? How do I get the contract? So it spit out like 20 things I could try. I was like, okay. So it was like, hey, go on the hunt, go on LinkedIn and find out who the top level executives are, and send them messages. I am paying for LinkedIn, so I got like the in-mail thing that I can do, so I can write people I'm not connected to. And I send them greeting cards with brownies, right? To say, hey, I'm an approved vendor. I love to talk to you about, being a resource. Because if I can just get, let's say, Target, which is a large retail chain all over the country, if I could just get them for Colorado, that would be huge for me. So it's just, and that's a good place to start. So the AI has a lot of really good potential to help you problem solve. I haven't used it in the penetration testing, but I'm pretty sure that new CEH 13 with the AI piece will answer a lot of that question for you. And maybe you'll see me come back on another webinar once I get that cert, and we'll talk about that again. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you for answering that, Rodney. Our next question to you is, what are ways to showcase the attendee is asking this question, what are the ways to showcase my penetration testing skills to a potential employer?
To showcase your penetration skills to a potential employer?
Yes.
So, having the certification is huge. The other piece for your potential employer is to ask them how they are willing to invest in your further education and knowledge to be a better asset to the team. Potential employers love to hear that you want to learn more, that you want to get into more stuff. So come at them with some more certifications that you don't have that you want, and tell them what those certifications are. So if you're a CEH, tell them you want that CPNT. You know, like, are you guys going to pay for my cert? Will you pay for my training and the cert? Will you pay for my training and reimburse me for the cert? So ask them about getting more knowledge. That's always a good thing to do. Another piece to ask the employer is like, hey, you know, if you give me an opportunity, I'd love to show you what I can do, and see what they'll let you do. I mean, you're not an employee yet, you know, but see if they'll let you do something. I mean, OSINT is a really good way to grab information. That's open source intelligence. So before you go into that interview, go to the website, right? You know, do a who is on the website. See if it's even got the privacy protection for the domain. Bring that to the meeting. You know, find out who the executives are, because they're probably listed on the website. You know, based on the email address, the email correspondence you've been getting from this employer, you may be able to find out what the email addresses are for those executives. So write that down, bring that to the meeting. You know, find out what information you've already been able to gather. It's almost like a black box test, right? Using open source intelligence, and bring that to the meeting and shock people, like, you know, I know you guys have this going on and that going on. You know, are there any vulnerabilities with this? Be tracking their projects. Go on their LinkedIn and see what kind of announcements they've been making, and ask them questions, security questions about the next piece of technology they're trying to bring out. You know, a lot of this is questions. The best part of being a hacker is being quiet. Let people talk to you. Shoot them a question and let them talk. Because the more you let people talk, they'll tell you everything that you want to know. And just be taking notes and ask really good questions. And, you know, you haven't even done any digital pen testing on the network yet, but you've already started to hack them in the interview. So that I'm sure will impress an employer. So just use the tools and the information that you have at your disposal, and use it in that interview. That's what I would do if I was you. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Our next question to you is, during pen testing, can it ever occur that an actual hacking is going on? And what measures do you put in place to ensure that all traffic from pen test are logged and reviewed so that the pen test is 100% verified?
Yep. So I haven't done any yet where there's somebody already in the network, but your pen test will be able to see that. What I end up doing, if I end up getting critical alerts on the pen tests that I'm running, I'll let the client know, like, hey man, I got a critical, so I don't want to wait till I'm done with this whole pen test and the reporting, which is like usually about 2 weeks from when I start to when I got the reports done. I'm not going to wait till the end of that time frame to let you know about your critical findings, so you can start working on those now. So if I find something crazy, I'll let them know immediately so they can start working on remediating those things before the pen test is even done. So that's my best answer to that question.
Thank you, Rodney. We will take last 2 questions of the day.
Okay.
And our second last question is, with new Gen AI automated offensive cyber platforms, do you recommend using these platforms for internal pen tests to add more advanced techniques, or is that overkill?
No, it's not overkill. It's not overkill. You know, it's funny you use the word overkill, because I've built networks for companies that have Active Directory and L2TP IPsec and you know, really advanced backup stuff, and then some other less qualified IT person will come in and say, oh, you know, that's overkill, and tell the client that is overkill, so they can like take the business from me or something like that, and then the client will believe them, and then, you know, I may end up losing that client. Like, you know, it's not overkill, because the cyber threat that we're trying to combat, they're overkill. They're doing everything possible to get into your stuff and take your money and take your data. So we have to be we have to respond in kind, right? We have to be even more overkill to protect these clients. So no, it's not overkill. Automated solutions are actually pretty good for you not only to run yourself, but for some people that are, pen test practitioners, and that opens up a really good response. You've got your automated pen testing tools, platforms that run like a slew of different tools. And these tools can be, it's like mixing drinks, right? You put vodka and cranberry juice, and that's one type of pen test. I can put tequila and orange juice. That's another type of pen test. It'll get the job done, but there are different combinations of tools to get the same job done. And the automated tools have a lower price point. There's also pen testing that's a lot more customized, where I've got an actual team of people doing a red team. You're gonna have to pay for all those people. You got to pay for that expertise, and you're gonna have to pay for those custom tools. So depending on the size of your business, if you're a big global conglomerate, you're probably paying for the people-centric pen testing, which is like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you're, a smaller business, you're probably paying for an automated solution, which may be in the tens of thousands of dollars. So it depends on your need, but both of them are great to use, and they're not overkill. You want overkill. Overkill is good. Hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Rodney. Our last question for the day is, during your penetration testing ventures, what is the top attack vector that you have encountered?
Ooh, that's good. Man, I'm just gonna have to give you some attack vectors. This is not a top one. One of them is IPv6. If you're not using IPv6, turn it off, man. Turn it off. If you don't need it, turn it off. That's a vector, because part of my pen testing is I'll put a virtual IPv6 DHCP server on your network, and then and a DNS server that's IPv6, and then all your computers on the network that have IPv6 enabled by default, your servers and everything. Thank you, Microsoft, for that. They'll all start communicating with my evil DHCP and DNS server first, and I can launch, any kind of website for you to connect to. So let's say, just pick a bank, whatever bank you use. I can use HTTrack, which is a tool that's used to copy websites, the whole site, especially the front end, and it'll have the username and password on it. When you go to that website on your computer, it'll go to my evil DNS server. It'll bring back that website because it's all using IPv6, and you'll type in your username and password to try to get into your bank, and it doesn't work. So you'll type it in again, hit enter and log in. It doesn't work. So then you'll try every password you can think of and keep hitting login, and it doesn't work. Now I have a list of all the passwords and usernames that you may be using, and I'll use them in other places. So IPv6 is a bad one. Another one that I see are printers, network printers. So people will get, they'll outsource their printers. They'll get like these really big Xerox, work group printers and scanners, and you can scan the email and scan the servers and do all this stuff with these printers. But one, they left the default username and password enabled. So I'm going to get into the back end of the printer. I'll turn on they have hard drives in these printers, storage. So everything that you scan, I can go into your printer and say, save everything that you scan. So if you're one of those companies that's, scanning people's birth certificates or their social security cards, or you're still one of those companies that are having people write down their credit card information on paper, and then you're scanning it and sending it somewhere, I'm getting all that information. I've seen these network scanners and printers that have FTP servers on them. Not only with the anonymous login, but that login will also give me write permissions on that FTP server that's in the printer. So now I can stage files on the printer and pass them out to all your users on the network and destroy you. So the network printers, the IPv6, port 3389 exposed to the internet from the firewall is bad. So those are people that don't know how to correctly implement remote access. So 3389 is remote desktop protocol for Microsoft. You should not have a hole in your firewall for port 3389. Don't do that. Don't do that. You need to create a VPN. That's how you do remote access, okay? Do a VPN. Seeing telnet enabled across the network, that's bad. So those are just some of the ones that I see out there. Patch those up, and then they won't show up on my pen test. Hope that answered your question.
Thank you so much to our wonderful speaker, Rodney, for answering those questions and for the great presentation and the knowledge shared with our global audience. It
Thank
was
you.
a pleasure to have you with us, and we are looking for more and more sessions with you.
Awesome. I can't wait. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you on the grid.
So yes, before we conclude the webinar, Rodney, would you like to give a small message to our audience?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everybody reaching out to me on LinkedIn. Definitely, there's a lot of resources for getting pen tests done for your organization. Reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on the grid all the time. So there's no need for you not to get one done. If you don't know how much it costs, get a quote. I'll be happy to get you one. And find some other providers to give you some also. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. And good night for some of you, and good morning for the rest of you. Let's go get it done. Let's save the world.
Thank you so much, Rodney.